There once lived a poor widow in a lonely little cottage. In front of the cottage grew 2 rose trees. One bore white roses, the other red. She had 2 little daughters who looked like the roses, so she named one Snow White and the other Rose Red. They were as good and pure as children could be. Snow White was quiet, gentle, and stayed close to home with her mother. Rose Red was lively, ran across the meadows, chased butterflies, and picked flowers. But they loved each other dearly, always shared everything, and never quarreled. At night, they slept in the same bed, and before going to sleep, their mother would sit beside them, read aloud a story, and pray with them. The children were so good and happy that even the animals loved them. In summer, birds perched on their shoulders and sang. A lamb followed them into the meadow, and a little white dove often came to sit on the window ledge. One cold winter evening, while snow lay thick on the ground, their mother said, "Snow White, Rose Red, bar the door." Suddenly, there was a loud knock. "Open up, children," cried a deep voice. They were frightened, but their mother said, "Do not be afraid. It may be some poor traveler seeking shelter." Rose Red opened the door, and in stepped a big brown bear, his coat covered with snow. "Do not be afraid," said the bear kindly. "I won't harm you. I only seek warmth by your fire." The children brushed the snow from his fur, and soon he lay down by the hearth. From then on, the bear came every evening. The children played with him, rolled on the floor, and pulled his shaggy coat. He growled, but in delight. When bedtime came, he lay down by the fire like a watchdog. When spring returned, the bear said one morning, "Now I must leave. I cannot stay any longer." "Where are you going, dear bear?" asked Snow White. "I must guard my treasure from the wicked dwarf who steals it and hides it in the mountains." The girls were sad to see him go. One day, the sisters went into the forest to gather sticks. Beneath a fallen tree, they saw something jumping about. It was a little dwarf with a long white beard stuck fast in a crack of the tree. "Why are you standing there? Can't you help me?" he cried angrily. The girls carefully freed his beard, even cutting a little piece to release him. "You stupid, ugly girls," he screamed. "You ruined my beautiful beard." "Do you think I'll thank you?" He snatched up a bag of gold hidden under the tree roots and disappeared. The sisters only laughed at his rudeness. Not long after, they found the dwarf again. He had tried to split a rock with his beard tangled in his hammer. Once more, the girls helped him. Again, he shouted angrily, then escaped with his bag of jewels. Another time, they found him being carried away by an eagle. The girls pulled him free, but he yelled, "Couldn't you be gentler? You nearly tore my coat," and ran off. Another day, they found him stuck in fishing lines in a brook. Snow White and Rose Red saved him once again. But instead of being grateful, he shouted, "Are you going to cut my fine beard again, you clumsy creatures?" and heaved his sack of pearls away. The sisters never lost their patience, though they found the little man most unpleasant. At last one day, the girls came upon the dwarf again. This time, he had spread out his treasures in a clearing. Suddenly, a great brown bear came running out of the forest. The dwarf shrieked in terror, "Spare me, mighty bear! Take those 2 girls instead." But the bear paid him no heed. With one stroke of his paw, he struck the dwarf dead. Then, before the sisters' eyes, the bear's skin fell away, and he stood before them as a handsome young prince. The dwarf had bewitched him, stealing his treasures and forcing him to live as a bear until his death could break the spell. The prince took Snow White as his bride. His brother married Rose Red. Their mother moved with them to the castle, where she lived happily and well cared for to the end of her days. In the castle garden stood 2 rose trees. One bore white roses, the other bore red, and they bloomed in beauty every year.